Tell us about some global trends that you're seeing in the IT industry.
So I think the biggest buzz is obviously about online learning. That's the biggest buzz. Though if you were to do a calculation of how much percentage learnt in the class and how much is online, for most sections of society is still predominantly in the classroom. But the rate of change year after year in the last 3 or 4 years is beginning to go up. So that's the big change, that the young learners are beginning to take to online learning with much more fun and joy than they were even 5 years ago. That's the biggest shift at one level. The other shift in learning, and that is true, I would say now in more and more countries in the world, is that the young people are not valuing degrees as much as they did in the past. So even otherwise, we do find that the employer world has been very critical of the higher education system, that you're not really producing the people we want. And now we have these bright, young, energetic people who are learning a lot on their own, and when they show up for employment, they do as well, if not better sometimes, than someone who's carrying a piece of paper. So this is the other shift. Now this is very slow, and perhaps it's much more in the metropolitan cities than in small towns and therefore in developing countries. But there is a very definite shift that employers are beginning to evaluate potential employees based on competencies they want to judge rather than what piece of paper they have. This is a big shift. It's a slow shift, and I think it's going to be very significant over the next 10 years. So, because today a lot of people go to that place just to get the certification. So, if employers find alternative methods or alternative signaling methods to figure out who has the competence for the job, because remember that even employers are now completely prepared for a workforce which doesn't want to live for a lifetime in the company. So it's a much more of a contractual short-term relationship, and therefore even employers in many companies, particularly small startups, look for, what are your skills today, and I will measure them. I'm not going to leave it to someone else. So the intermediation which was happening through certificates, as it kind of dissolves, and as the potential company of the future, which is a small company which is kind of going in and out of things, they keep, so it'll be, a whole lot of small companies and individual floating in as free agents, evaluating their short-term needs. And I think there to say you're a PhD in something may not mean too much. That is a much longer shift, but a much more fundamental shift.